Hey folks, Steve Rosinski here. So I was looking at kind of my stuff that I've had from my career of being a filmmaker, of making movies, and I kind of just was finding it surreal. I was kind of in a position of like, whoa, it's insane and weird that I have all of this physical proof of my existence. Um, it's immortalizing, it's interesting to me, and I'm sure that sounds narcissistic. I'm not intending it that way. It's weird and cool at the same time. So I figured while I was going through this stuff, I may as well make something and talk about it in a video, just to see in terms of like how it makes me feel, what it's like, and I also know that I've been mostly focusing on making stuff for Steve Buster and the Steve Buster subscribers, but at the same time I've been kind of neglecting just general fans otherwise. So I figured I'd make something just for YouTube instead of for Steve Buster, which I have not done in quite a long time. So most of this is just going to be my DVDs and Blu-rays, but there's other stuff, only a few things, which you probably already know what they are. I'm going to say at the top immediately, I don't have any more copies of the Everyone Must Die soundtrack. I don't have any more copies of the Super Task Force 1 soundtrack. Those CDs I only made like 10 each of, and I finally sold them all like this year, because that's how much CDs are cared about. But I also have those, and those were cool to have, those were cool to hold, those were cool to see. But I don't have any. So let's go back in time. So obviously the first thing that I have and comes to mind is the Wolfster double feature DVD from, ooh, this one's falling out, the old school DVD-R printable Surface DVD-R with the old Dark Mullet Cinema logo. This is interesting because this is very old. 2006, 2007, mostly 2006, I want to say. And they haven't aged well. And they weren't seen by that many people. But there's a couple interesting things just with the idea that the people that did see it, like the 15 people that saw these movies, still like them. Like, I still get talked to from time to time about Wolfster, which is why Wolfster came back in The Survivors, as kind of just a thank you to those people specifically. And also, Wolfster Part 2 specifically is in a book that talks about Dracula in movies, because I put this Rowdy Roddy Piper version of Dracula in Wolfster 2. It has been immortalized in book form because of people talking about Dracula, the mythological character. Never read that book. Alright, then we got Basic Slaughter, which I think is garbage. But it actually was around for quite a while, especially on Amazon, because this DVD somehow made it to Amazon. I never put it on streaming on Amazon. It's only at Steve Buster because I do not like this movie. But this was my first taste of mass. Not even appeal, just my first taste at actually getting a movie out to a lot of people via like a large website. But I did really bad at that, so then we moved on to doing the VG Spoof series, season 1 and 2, in 2008 and 2009. Right over here by Kaylin Smith, and of course Robin Threadbare. We also did the art on the back in the original drawn art of season 1. 2 episodes, 3 episodes maybe, did relatively okay, and by okay I mean like a few thousand, a couple thousand hits. Everything else was only a few hundred, so it was just not worth the effort to keep going. This was an experiment to see if I could get an audience on YouTube, especially during a time when it was easier to get an audience on YouTube because there isn't that much stuff at the time on YouTube, and it still failed. So I'm not ashamed of this at all. I still think most of this show ages well and is relatively pretty funny. So, but don't make these DVDs anymore because they're a pain in the ass to get all the files, to get them all on here. So I think I finally sold the last sellable copy at, it was either Grossfest, I'm not sure when, because the pandemic has made a lot more time happen between conventions. Alright, so then from there, now this only exists on DVD aside from being a bonus feature on Blu-rays, of course, the Slasher Hunter. And this was also one of those cases of got it onto Amazon. Also put it on YouTube because at the time I was on a website, forum, where a lot of people were consistently like really angry and nasty at the concept of an independent creator selling their stuff instead of just posting their stuff for free on YouTube. So that influenced me, and I was like, okay, well, I'll put it on YouTube then. You know, I'll see if they're right. And I made no money on YouTube. I got barely any hits on YouTube, but sold plenty of physical copies of the Slasher Hunter, and this one was really enjoyed by a lot of people. Of course, the inserts, again by Kalen Smith. They did a great job with this box art. A lot of people noticed this box art. It looks really good. Kalen's a really talented artist. The only reason why I didn't go with Kalen more often in my career is just because their art style is really good, but it doesn't quite match the horror comedy genre that I roll with. So I ended up just either designing a lot of the stuff myself or going with Photoshop artists that are more focused on live action. But at the same time, Kalen did this live action poster and it's fantastic, so... Anyway, not much else to say. I'm not trying to do a retrospective on every single movie or experience. It's literally just the stuff that still exists, because that's the other thing with this, before I put it down, is that I made this in 2010, I released it in 2011. People still buy this in 2021. And that's what first got me thinking about, holy shit, how many people can say this? Obviously other creators, and even then, there's a lot of other creators that have only made one thing, and they focus on that, and that's okay. Everyone's different. I'm not saying that to invalidate their experience or make mine sound superior. It's just the fact that I've made so much stuff for so many years at this point, and what I consider the first of my career, whereas this is mostly, these were just dicking around. People still buy this, and that's cool and weird. Why do people still buy something that I made 10 years ago? I guess they like it, but who knows. Alright. Then we got 2012. I made Everyone Must Die. Now, first we got my version of the Everyone Must Die DVD that I made, that I designed, that I put onto the website and sold to the Kickstarter backers. A lot darker. Still looks, the back I think is a solid design. The front is just too dark. Nicole Beatty actually is the one that designed this whole box art, and she did a wonderful job, but the distributor did replace this, and I understand why she wouldn't be a fan of that, because you design something and then someone's like, oh, this isn't good enough to even use. That would make me upset too. But I can understand the point just because of how this would blend into a shelf. So as much as I actually do like this design, because the whole shadow concept is very in line with the film, and Nicole really understood the theme of the villain of this movie. But it doesn't pop on a shelf, unfortunately. So as much as I like this design, the distributor did replace it. So again, this was my DVD. These are not available for sale anymore. We got my first major distribution DVD. The first time I was picked up by a distributor, the first time I made it to store shelves, the first time I was in stores, rental stores, Hastings, back when that existed, picked up a lot of these, which is cool. all these reviews from like major websites on the back. Like, this was the first time I really felt like, holy shit, I am making movies. Even if I didn't really make any money off of this deal, I think to this day Everyone Must Die is technically still in the red. Not by much, but it's still in the red in terms of sales. Because this also is not a very good movie. It also has a lot of issues in Act 1 and Act 2. I think it starts off really strong in the first several minutes, and then it falls apart for a while. There's a lot of kills, there's a lot of blood, but not a lot of interesting things happening. And, you know, I learned. I learned how to do exposition better, I learned how to do pacing better from this movie. So I'm not ashamed of this, I just also would rank this lower of my career. And the other thing with Everyone Must Die is it's on streaming still. Like, it was on streaming majorly through the distributor. Then when I got the rights back, I submitted it to streaming websites. It's on Tubi, which is a huge website for horror streaming right now. This makes like $10 a month on there, which again is not making me rich or money, but the fact that something that I made years ago is still has any form of revenue is nuts. Now, because of Everyone Must Die, we get into the first piece of physical merch that aren't the soundtracks. Again, I had an Everyone Must Die soundtrack, and it is the Everyone Must Die game. Now, I did not design this. This was someone else reached out. Alex Wolf. He reached out of Wolfpack Studios and said that he really liked the idea of Everyone Must Die and came to me about making a game because he saw the appeal of making a game. And it was the first time I got to see myself, you know, in like a physical format, and I was tickled pink. Like, it was so fun and cool and interesting, and it was a points-based game, not a card, not a deck building game. Just a game where you would play cards and earn points based on what you play. You know, stealing points from another player, just earning points, getting bonus points if you play another card, if someone played a card before you or after you. MC Pink, for example, if you play a card that rhymes with the card that was played before you, you get extra points, which was a really fun mechanic. And it was pretty solid. I never saw a cent from this game. I assume it is because not many copies sold, because Everyone Must Die was not that popular, relatively speaking to what came, almost everything that came after it. I don't think I got screwed. I don't think that they pocketed much money, if anything, from making this game, but it was still really cool that they reached out, that they made this game, and that this was the first time I experienced, like, another form of media related to something I made. So, still have this. I think this game is still for sale. I remember looking it up, and the store page is still listed, and you may still be able to get one. I think it's like $30. I'm not sure. But I guess if you want a really old blast from the past, you could. Check out Wolfpack Studios. Alright, then people... Oh yeah, of course. The Everyone Must Die Blu-ray. And this was the first time I made a Blu-ray, and it was really cool to be like, oh yeah, I'm in HD now. I'm in HD, and that was that. Not much else to say, but this was my first Blu-ray, so it has a special place in my heart. Which is probably dumb, but I don't care. Alright, so after that, damn, okay. I am short a couple DVDs, I just realized, so let's pretend I have the Super Task Force DVD. I'm going to also use the Blu-ray, because it did come out at the same time. So it's another Blu-ray of me, which is still, like, really cool, really fun, plus the DVD. This was 2013, and this was also one of those things where, like, a lot of people were yelling at me about selling this, because I was trying to be very open and honest and not an asshole, and explain, like, yeah, this is like a passion project, this is something I really care about, something I'm really excited to make, but I'm only making it for like $2,000, so, you know, it is what it is. And people were like, oh, well then why are they couldn't believe that I was selling it physically at all, and they were really upset with me and angry with me, and it really hurt. And I think that was really the straw that broke the camel back of me leaving that website, because of just how clearly there was not even just a lack of support, but active, malicious, I don't know if malicious is the right word, but confrontation for no reason. And I'm glad I didn't listen to them, because for a time this was my biggest moneymaker. Tokusatsu is a genre that does not have a lot of stuff. It definitely does not have a lot of indie stuff, so this thing sold okay physically at first, but then it did gangbusters on streaming, because when I was able to get this onto Prime streaming early on, when Prime paid more, and this movie made a lot of money. It made so much money on Prime streaming that I almost went ahead with making the sequel, but then Prime started paying less and less, and I kind of hesitated because I was afraid Prime would then in the future pay even less, and I'd never be able to break even on a sequel. And I was right, Prime paid even less, and I would not have made even on the sequel. So unfortunately, Super Task Force is dead, but I'm really, really happy that I made it. It's a fun part of my career. It's a fun part of what I did. The soundtrack was a big hit. Steve Obortz made one of the greatest theme songs for an indie film ever with the Super Task Force theme. I know people that sing that song to this day. I know people that still download the album from Steve O's website to this day. So this one's fun. This one is one that I always look to. I still have the 27x40 poster in my living room. You know, as much as like my other older films will get replaced over time, like Captain Z, for example, and no offense to Captain Z, but Captain Z finally got replaced with Carousel II. Super Task Force is still up, because it's me being a superhero, it's me being a tokusatsu, and it was my first experience of really going outside of the box. Because a lot of times when you're an indie horror director, that's what you make. That's what everyone expects you to make, and that's all you're allowed to make, even though that's not fair, and that's not true. Or at least it shouldn't be. So, glad I did that. It's what really helped establish me as a guy that's not just a horror director that's going to make shit that's weird. And I feel like I kept doing that in a good way. So, then I was hired by Zoltan Zilai to make Captain Z. It was his idea. I wrote the script, he did a passover, and then we made the movie. So we got Captain Z on DVD. This one is my DVD. This box was designed by a mix of Scott Lewis and Kalen Smith. Got the whole back-to-back with Zoltan and me. This is actually Kalen's art. They drew this one. And then we have the distributor version, because it was picked up by SGL Entertainment, and they literally they took our box, but really made it less good. So I hope they didn't charge Zoltan for like design, and then the disc is just the poster again. I hope they didn't charge Zoltan for designing a box, because it is objectively worse than the back of this box. I don't understand it. But they also didn't use any of our bonus features, which was interesting. And then, of course, we go over here to the Blu-ray releases. Again, my Blu-ray that I designed. Same case and everything. And this movie looked great on Blu-ray, especially at the time, because we had much better cameras and lighting, and we took our time because we had more of a budget with Captain Z. So this one I was really happy to get in HD and get released in HD. And then the distributor. This was the only distributor that made a Blu-ray of my movies. It is again, I think the back of the box is far more boring than my back of the box, but there was a really good transfer of the movie. Their Blu-ray, for the film, their Blu-ray looks way better than my Blu-ray, but they didn't use any of the bonus features that I gave them. And I mean, I had hour-long interviews, I had music videos, I had the Captain Z old commercials. I had a ton of stuff that I gave them, and they didn't use any of it. I don't know why. Especially compared to when I gave bonus features to MVD for Everyone Must Die. They crammed all of them onto the DVD. When I gave Wild Eye bonus features for Karis Hell, they used all of them. They used stuff that I was only able to fit onto my Blu-ray. They were able to cram that onto the DVD. So like other distributors like and use bonus features when you give it to them, SGL didn't. I'm not sure why. But again, only distributor Blu-ray that was making it to store shelves, that was making it online. So again, Captain Z was another film that got picked up. You know, it was found at FYE a few times, yada yada yada, retail shops, as much as that matters anymore. And so that was a cool experience, and I liked it. I do not have the Red Christmas DVD, so let's just skip ahead. So we got the Red Christmas Blu-ray, and this was one that I made because we didn't get the money to make Carousel, and I wanted to make something to sell at horror conventions. That is literally the only reason why this exists. And some people really like it. I don't know why. I don't like it because I don't like the genre, but some people really like it. Never got distribution for this. I think I only sent it to a couple of distributors to try. They both pretty much said the same thing, that they actually liked the movie, but they found that the found footage genre was not pushing copies anymore. So I understood. They were very polite, they were very kind, and I understood why they didn't pick the movie up. But I was able to get it onto Amazon myself, and the Prime streaming. It has always done just okay. It has never been a big thing on streaming. It's never done that well on streaming. Physical copies, though, have sold well enough to definitely make a profit. Before the Cat movies, percentage-wise, this might have been my most successful movie in terms of profit percentage, because this movie was only made for $500. Alright, so then we move on to The Survivors. Again, the DVD I do not have handy. I should have planned this better, but I did not. So we got The Survivors Blu-ray, which I actually don't sell anymore, because I lost all of the original HD files except for the film itself. I lost the commentary, I lost the bonus features, I lost everything with a hard drive getting destroyed. But also, Survivors was not a big success. I made this as a 5-year anniversary movie, as like a self-filleting celebration of my career up to that point, as a conclusion to the Killer's storyline from Everyone Must Die, and to use Captain Z and Wolfster again, just for fun, and Frank, and like the Slasher Hunter characters as well. I put it online on YouTube for free, in addition to selling it, and a lot of people online hated it. I don't know why they hated it so badly. So that kind of demotivated me from pushing the Survivors that much. But it still is the conclusion to the Killer storyline. I don't think it's bad. I made this for only a few $100s, and I think I did a lot with a few $100s in terms of number of characters and locations and things happening. But people didn't like it, so I'm not going to push something bad like for no reason. It's just not worth the effort. It's not worth the time. Now, this movie's still available, obviously. The DVD is still for sale because those I sent to like Funaki to like produce copies, so they permanently have the files, so I can still make DVDs. And I do put the movie as a bonus feature onto other Blu-rays. So it was, I think right now, it is still a bonus feature completely on the Red Christmas Blu-ray. And next year, I will probably do a 10-year Blu-ray anniversary version of Everyone Must Die, which will include HD versions of Slasher Hunter and The Survivors on it. So it's like the whole Killer story altogether. But this Blu-ray by itself is kind of if you were a fan, this would be a collector's item, because I only made, I think, like 30 to 40 of these, and when they were gone, they were gone. So this is a very limited number. I'm glad I made it. And again, it still exists. It's still on Steve Buster, all that stuff. I just don't specifically have this Blu-ray anymore, and I won't get rid of my last Blu-ray of the movie. Alright, now, of course, now we get into Carousel. I don't have my original DVD, but I do have the distributor DVD handy. This was probably the biggest distribution deal, the biggest distributor that I had. This got really out there. You know, they got this movie into a lot of people's hands. They got a lot of websites to cover this movie. Did not get the Walmart deal like I was hoping. It is what it is. But this was the first distributor that really brought it when it came to designing an amazing box art, an amazing poster. The back of the box looks fucking great. It's just good. Like, this is a good distributor DVD. Then I have both of my Blu-rays. I have my first one, the red box, as I like to call it. Very simplistic, you know. The same back. And then I did a updated Blu-ray. This was like first edition, because the distributor actually made art originally for the poster and didn't use it at all, just because they found that live action Photoshop posters sell better than drawn art. But I was like, are you gonna do anything with this art? Can I use this? Yeah, sure. So then my next Blu-ray had the alternate art, which I have found out double dipping is a viable financial strategy. Love you guys that bought both. But I didn't realize how many people that already owned this would see this cover and say, oh, I need to own that one too. Or vice versa. You know, they bought the DVD and they're happy with it, but they saw that they didn't care about the HD, they didn't care about the Blu-ray, they cared about the art being different. So that was an interesting lesson for me. I don't think I would do that again or consistently, but it was interesting to learn and interesting to try. I just wanted to update the Blu-ray with the awesome art, and found out that a lot of people care about awesome art. Alright, so now we got the cats. And I'm so happy that these movies exist, because it has immortalized my pets. And seeing my cat on all these boxes, even though I just produced these myself. Like, none of these cat movies have distribution. I don't care about these cat movies having distribution. I'm not trying to get them distribution. They're self-released, they're on streaming, they're on Steve Buster, and they're physically available at conventions where they sell a lot. A stupid amount. But I still smile every time I look at a physical DVD box and see my cat. It makes me really happy. These are going to be very special for a long time to me. So we got the Meowie Christmas, Meowie Halloween. I didn't even bother putting a back onto, because I didn't expect to make any after this, and I already knew that people wanted to buy it based on what it was. And then, because these movies are so cheap, I did feel bad about selling them each individually on Blu-ray, even though I did film them and, you know, edit them and release them in HD. So I did the Blu-ray, where both of them are on the same disc. It's just Gizmo Cat. Oh, she's so cute. And I even paid extra for this nice little, like, booklet thing where I could feature every single other parody poster. So it's awesome to see my cat on a Blu-ray disc. It's very special. And then, of course, St. Patrick's Day, where I finally went back to actually putting designs on the back. And Meowie Christmas Vacation, the ending of the story, and I keep standing by that. I know some people keep on asking for more, but I feel like I gave them enough, and there's plenty of Meowie to watch. And of course the Blu-ray, I just went ahead and did the same thing. Did the same thing, where it was both movies on one disc. And of course this has both arts on both sides. And that's the end of the movies. That's the end of the physical, like, proof of my work. But I also have a couple more things to show that I am still tickled pink that they exist. And one of them is a vinyl album. I have a vinyl of a bunch of music from the past 10 years of making movies. It has all the vocal themes on side A, and then side B has basically Steve Obortz's favorite compositions that he did. And I don't know, just the sheer concept that I have a vinyl album of the music from my movies is something that is unlike almost anything else. Like, you could just make DVDs really easily. You can do that at home, honestly. But having a vinyl, this is... I don't know, maybe it's the vinyl collector in me, but this just feels like another level. This feels like the next step of people caring about you. And I've sold a few of these. I don't make much money on this, because it is words. The cost of producing and shipping it to someone is only like $3 or $4 less than what I charge for this vinyl. So I'm selling this because I think it's cool that it exists. I'm not selling this as a moneymaker. But other people definitely appreciate that this exists. Other people have picked this up and they listen to this music, and I think that's really cool and fun. If you don't want to spend a bunch of money on a physical vinyl, I will say that digital versions of the vinyl are on stevebuster.com. So if you want to subscribe to Steve Buster for a month, you'll be able to like listen to what's actually on this disc for just $3 instead of like $50. But I think it's really cool that that exists. And finally, the last thing is, alright, so we had the Everyone Must Die card game. Aline and I were talking for a while about how much we wanted to do a Carousel game, but we didn't know what the game would be. And I finally put in the thought, and we put in the thought, sorry I misspoke, it was both her and I, making a deck building game. And I love this box. This box is like in such good quality, and it is so cool to see my movies in card format. So like on the back of the character cards, we got the alternate Carousel art on the front. We got all the characters in Force of Green, you know, Cowboy Cool, Santa Claus, who is a very important character in my movies, me, unfortunately, Duke, and of course Gizmo Cat, who is, I'm so glad she's in the game. I pushed for that. Not hard, it wasn't like anyone was disagreeing with me. And these cards, like, look so good. It's insane to me how well they turned out. So we got the Carousel 2 art on the back, drawn by Laura Trixillo. And in the front, we actually have, I mean, they're so smooth. We got my pets, we got characters from the other movies, we got Captain Z, we got Carousel, we got the Survivors, we got Carousel 2. We got, like, it's such a fun, like, this game is basically a 10-year Silver Spotlight anniversary game, while masquerading as a Carousel game. Don't get me wrong, we did really go out of our way to make sure it was mainly Carousel. Most of the cards in this game are Carousel 1 and 2, but when we needed a bunch of cards, instead of just using literally every single tiny side character 2 or 3 times from the Carousel movies, we needed 212 cards. So I forget if it was Aline or I who said it first, that just basically said, I have all these other movies, why not use them? And we did. And I think because of that, it's really cool that the Carousel game, coming out 10 years after I was making movies, just has, like, all of these movies are in this box in some way. Like, one character, or a villain, or a kill, or something, it's in this box. And I think that's really cool, and I'm really proud of this. This is like the vinyl. We are not making this to make money. I think this costs like $44 to produce and ship to someone, and we charge $50 for it. So also not a moneymaker, but I hope that we sell more of this, just because I think this is my favorite thing. And part of that is probably because it's new, but I stand by it. The fact that this game is my career in this box, that people play and people have fun with, and we've played it a few times with fans, and the fans have really enjoyed it and really enjoyed seeing all the characters, and that made me feel really good that I've been doing this for 10 years, and I have all this stuff. I have all these DVDs, I have vinyl, I have soundtracks, I have games, and the few fans that I do have really seem to connect and appreciate what I've done. And that means a lot to me. So I was just thinking about it, and I figured I would just kind of sit down and talk about it on video, and maybe someone would care. maybe someone would care to watch. And if not, if this gets 15 views, that's fine. But, you know, if you had a good time, I'm glad. Because I had a good time doing this, even if nobody watches this video. If you are still watching, thank you. SilverSpotlightFilms.com to buy any of these physical things. The soundtrack, the game, the DVDs, the Blu-rays, they're all for sale at SilverSpotlightFilms.com. And if you already own Carousel or already own a couple of things and don't really have the money to afford buying 11 DVDs, I understand. Head over to SteveBuster.com, where for $2.99 a month you can watch all of these, and you get to keep the links forever. So feel free to give that a shot if you're interested in that. But thanks for watching. This was fun. I don't know if it was interesting, but it was fun. So thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you for the, and I don't mean that financially, I also mean the emotional support. I mean the words really mean a lot to me. Sharing my stuff really means a lot to me. The excitement that I see means so much to me, that I'm able to make anything that people actually care about, and that it's not only some disposable thing that people can forget about in a few years. Again, the fact that so much of my older stuff still sells and still has fans is really cool. So thanks again. I hope to keep doing this, and I hope that Carousel 2 gets a lot of love and a lot of success so that I can keep on doing this after Carousel 2. I love you all.